In 2014, a crack toy fixer was banished from the forums for talking about repairing vintage toys. Undeterred, this man promptly set up his own YouTube channel located in the Somerset Underground. Today, still wanted by hardcore Star Wars collectors, he survives as a maverick toy restorer. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find him, maybe toy-polloi can help you. Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Now in today's video we're going to take a look at touching up the paintwork on a vintage Star Wars Kenner Darth Vader. Now here in front of me I have a selection of the Darth Vaders in my collection. Most of these are ones I've restored over the years, but none of them I have fixed the paintwork on. So first up, let's take a look at one that does have some good paintwork on it. In this one you can see clearly that the little computer panel on the front and his belt have a nice amount of white and red paint on it. But most of the figures I have here look like this, where the paint has worn off. So let's take a look at how we can go about repainting the chest panel and belt on this Darth Vader. For this paint touch up we're going to use some Humbrol acrylic paints. I have number 34 here, as you can see, Humbrol acrylic, and we have number 238, which is a red. Number 34 white is a matte white, because the paint on this Darth Vader looks fairly matte to me, and you can see actually every sort of part of him has been painted white there, and then the red paint goes on top. So we're going to do the exact same thing on this Darth Vader I have here. Paint all of the little parts white and then drop on some red over the top of it. So first thing we need to do is to mix up the paints and make sure they are well mixed. So we're going to do the white one first. So if I just open this white paint and give it a really good mix so that it's fully mixed, and this takes a few minutes to do. Now that the paint's mixed, we can work out what areas we need to paint. I have a very small fine brush here as well. On the front of Darth Vader you can see there are three sort of little long oblongs. Those all need to be painted white, and then there's a series of little buttons. That whole area needs to be painted white. Two little dots above it, and of course the little belt. We can see that if I bring in the original, that's the sort of pattern we're going for. So all I'm going to do is take a very small amount of this white Humbrol paint on my brush and very carefully paint those areas. It does take a little bit of practice. This is much easier to do if you don't have a camera in the way, but as always I will persevere and work around the camera. You can see that's the belt buckle done. Now these other small bits are going to be a little bit more fiddly, and so I'm going to just take this slow, and if I go wrong I can always wipe the paint off again, because this paint takes a little while to dry and is water based at this point, so you can easily sort of stop and start again. So there's the smaller details done. I'm not actually sort of painting sort of outside the areas. Some of these figures have a lot of paint and it's sort of splodged everywhere, but I like to try and keep it fairly neat and sort of onto the little raised edges. It seems to make it look a little bit, just a bit more detailed. And then there's these sort of little buttons at the bottom. So now that that white is done, we have to wait and let that paint dry before we go about putting the red on. This takes sort of half an hour to dry really. If you put it somewhere warm it will dry a bit quicker. So we just let that dry and then we can put the red paint on. Now that the white paint has had time to dry, we can paint the red on. And again, I'm using Humbrol acrylics, and I'm going to use 238, which is a lovely vibrant red. So I've just got a small brush here again, and we can use the original Vader on the left here as a guide. So we've got to do the two dots on the right, the lower of the top three panels and the sort of second in of the bottom panel need to be painted in this red. And that's it. It's a very fine job, as you can see, because it's quite small details, but those are the only bits on this Darth Vader figure that need to be painted red. So we'll let that dry, then put his cape back on. And here we have the final figure. He's the guy on the right. So you can see the paint does make quite a nice difference to Darth Vader. It just gives that little bit of sort of highlighting on his chest panel and belt. So it's probably the easiest of the figures to repaint just because there's so little paint on him originally. Most of the figure is just black plastic. So this one I would recommend. It's a very easy one to start work on if you want to have a sort of a practice run. And it's a pretty common figure to find. As you can see, I've had quite a load of these figures over the years. They all generally are missing bits, but as I've shown you in plenty of my videos, there are ways to restore them and make capes and make lightsabers. So he's a great figure as a sort of starting point if you want to have a go at restoring a vintage Star Wars figure. So I hope my video has been of interest to you, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Looks like this. All of the paint has worn off. So today we're going to repaint the chest on this Darth Vader here. Bye bye Darth Vader over there.